Mr. Radanovich, thank you, first of all, very much for your work and what you are doing for the Armenian cause.
You're welcome. My pleasure. It's been a long haul, but once again, we got it through another committee.
Mr. Radanovich, this time the vote was 23 to 22. What does this slight difference mean? Does it mean anything at all?
No, as I recall, once, many years ago, when we had it before the committee, it was going to be a close vote. And even though it was highly inappropriate, some of the Turkish officials were in from Turkey, and they managed to be able to testify during a markup in a committee. And usually that's reserved for times when you do hearings, not markups. And the more that the Turkish, I believe it was the Turkish ambassador, the more they talked about the denial of the genocide, the more people voted to recognize the genocide. And so I think there wasn't that presence in the meeting today, and quite a few of the votes that were not supportive of the resolution were brought along with statements saying, yes, this was genocide. They because of the politics, and they would use the excuse of the timing of it, decided to go ahead and oppose it. So there was the numbers are there, but it's a very controversial, as you know, issue here in the United States with the State Department and the president, no matter who he is, it seems, always opposing the resolution.
As a candidate, the presidential candidates several times, for example, Mr. Obama, 5 or 6 times he said that it's time for the United States to recognize the Armenian genocide. But when he became president, he backed off. So didn't he know before that, when he was a candidate, that he would back off?
That I don't know. I will say that the strong lobby of the State Department has always been effective in swaying the president away from affirming the genocide, and that has been the case now for at least 3 presidents that I've seen, and perhaps more. I can't say what was in Obama's heart when he was making commitments to the Armenian community during campaign, but I do know that the State Department is just adamant about the fact that this would not be good for international relations. And even though I disagree, the State Department has always been able to persuade presidents to go against their initial commitments to recognize the genocide.
But this time the State Secretary is also a person who previously, when candidate or senator, several times said that the United States has to recognize the Armenian genocide. Isn't she the leader of the State Department, I mean?
She is the leader of the State Department, and that's why it's equally more surprising that the State Department came through with such strong advice not to recognize the genocide, but nevertheless it did happen. And it poses a problem. I mean, the Armenian community is very supportive of candidates who say that they will recognize the genocide, and yet they've been betrayed now a number of times. So I think it's a I don't agree with Obama and Secretary Clinton when they say that this will damage our relationship with Turkey. I've always maintained that this will make them upset for about 3 months, and then things will be back on track, because Turkey needs the United States just as much as the United States needs Turkey. And an issue like this is not sufficient to disrupt that relationship. So, we just have to convince the State Departments and some of these folks that is indeed the case, and move on with the recognition of the genocide.
So you don't think that this resolution, even if it goes to full house, won't harm Turkish-American relationship?
It may temporarily. I would say maybe for 90 days. Then I think Turkey would recognize that they're always over defensive about the genocide, and even though the language in the resolution does not target the current government, it targets the Ottoman Empire, the regime of the early 1900s. And doesn't look for anything beyond the recognition of the genocide. And the Turks, unfortunately, the more they talk about it, the deeper they dig their hole and of denial. And I think that kind of prompts the need for this recognition to happen. I believe, too, that the passage of this bill, H.R. 252, in the committee is very good in helping normalize relations with between Turkey and Armenia. And the State Department will disagree that this kind of stuff damages it. We need to reinforce those efforts for normalization of relations, and in that needs to be included the recognition of genocide. It's for Turkey's good as well, too, because of their them being denied access into the European Union based on a number of things, but not being able to come to grips with their history is one of those things. So it's good for Turkey, I think, in the long run as well.
But the government of Turkey is very tough now, and they're doing everything they can to attack this resolution. In Turkey, abroad, wherever they have any meetings, and they say that Armenian-Turkish reconciliation process will stop because of this resolution. What can you say about that?
Their approach to the whole situation is wrong, and their fervent denial betrays the fact that the genocide did occur. I mean, in their mind, I think they're doing themselves more harm than good by not recognizing the genocide and moving forward. And it's their reaction to the emotional reaction to this is not surprising, because it's been, as long as I've been dealing with this issue, which has been about 16 years now, that's always been their response. But their response is indicative of what their problem is, not just on this issue, but in their relationship with the West, with the European Union, and being able to move forward in a peaceful way in that region. And this is just something they need to get over. And that not violent reaction, but that fervent reaction to any mention of something like this is, it really kind of pulls the veil off their real need to recognize this thing and move on.
Do you think the resolution will go to full House, and whether Speaker Nancy Pelosi will take it to the full House or not?
Well, they've said no at this point, as I understand, between the Obama administration and the leadership here in the House, because it is a joint resolution, but still, as far as the House goes, I think they've agreed not to do it at this time. And I think it's important for the Armenian community to keep the pressure on with this bill and to stand ready, because the time will come when this issue will be heard and voted on. Once it goes to the floor, they know it'll pass. And that's why they don't want it to go to the floor. That may change someday. And I think it's important to have that bill out there and ready to go, so that when the time changes. There was, I think, a window of opportunity a few years ago during the vote on the Iraq War. And Turkey decided not to allow the United States to go through its airspace. That, I think, is an example of a good time for something like this bill to be ready to be brought to the floor, and we may get the resolution passed on the floor.
One more last question. Some say that reconciliation process between Turkey and Armenia is dependent upon this resolution in some way. Or the others say that this resolution is dependent upon the Armenian-Turkish reconciliation process. Which one is the correct answer?
I think the issue gaining ground here in the Congress in the United States helps keep Turkey to the table. There's got to be a recognition of the genocide, I think, in the normalization of relationships with the countries. It's between them, and it's better to have it there than it is the recognition here in the United States. The more that we put the pressure, I think, on Turkey, I think the more it keeps them at the table with Armenia, their neighbors, to be able to work this thing out. And so I think having this as a live issue here in the United States, I think helps the reconciliation process.
Mr. Radanovich, thank you very much for the interview. Would you like to add anything?
No, I will say, though, I'm very pleased that it's made the progress that it has so far. We'll keep the pressure on, and I just want to say hello to all friends in Armenia.
We wish you success.
All right. Thank you,
very much. Thanks.